Hi, my name is Drew. I'm a sociologist.
I'm Kate. I'm a media production specialist.
And welcome to Everyone Should Read. This is the podcast where we will be
reading and breaking down books, plays, sonnets, short stories, and essays that everyone has heard of, but most people haven't actually read.
Yeah, the kind of things that everyone feels like they should be reading. We're assigned perhaps to read. Never picked up. Just did not get into.
Yeah. Or something that you read the first half of.
Heavy on the first half. Absolutely. I have been guilty of that. And then just sort of like, I think I can surmise. For this first episode, this is going to be our teaser, just a little taste of what we do. And we're going to be doing a piece that sort of has a long sort of intertwining back and forth dialogue with itself, which is what the whole point of this podcast is, to kind of pick apart why these things are relevant.
Yeah, we're bringing out a story that has one of the longest histories. And if it seems like everything is a sequel these days, this episode's only going to make that worse because humans have been telling the same story for thousands of years. And one of my favorite examples of this is Pygmalion.
Kate, tell us about Pygmalion.
Oh my God, I would love to. So the true original origin story, as far as we know, is ancient Greek. It's the story of a sculptor who fell in love with his statue.
Okay.
He considers the statue that he created to be the ideal of womanhood. He names the statue
Galatea, I believe.
Galatea, yes. There are so many variations of this story throughout time. We are going to start with my favorite just like pop culture take on it, which is George Bernard Shaw, who prefers going by Bernard Shaw. His Pygmalion is a play. He brings the characters from ancient Greece into Victorian England, and it was published and first produced in 1912. He adapted it for screen, and it won the Academy Award. It was then adapted into a musical, My Fair Lady, in 1956.
Spectacular.
It was in this cast where 20-year-old Julie Andrews originated the role of Eliza Doolittle.
Her Majesty.
Her Majesty the Queen, which, give me 1 second, I will get you right back to her being a queen.
Say less.
This cast was phenomenal. Warner Bros. Picked it up, wanted to do the film.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And instead of selecting Andrews, who was virtually unknown in Hollywood, they passed over her for 21-year-old Audrey Hepburn, who had already starred in Roman Holiday, where she won her Oscar, Breakfast at Tiffany's. All of these had already been done by the time that they filmed My Fair Lady.
OT.
When it was announced that Julie Andrews was not starring in My Fair Lady, it was Walt Disney who approached her about playing Mary Poppins.
Oh, shut up.
In her acceptance speech when she received the Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance as Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews, queen of stage, screen, and shade, thanked the casting director of My Fair Lady.
Love gets eyeballed for a role, gets snubbed for the role, gets chosen for a different role, wins Oscar for that role instead.
Yes, Audrey Hepburn was not nominated for her rendition of Eliza Doolittle. Also, her voice was dubbed, and she is not the singer in the film production of My Fair Lady. That was someone else. But she did do a beautiful job. The costumes are amazing. Still check out the film. 2 decades later, the story is adapted for screen again. This time, it's called Pretty Woman. It stars Julia Roberts, who had only had like a couple films at this point.
This is the Richard Gere one, right?
Yes.
Okay. I only knew him from Chicago.
Big mistake. Huge. That's the one. She receives her Oscar nomination for the role. She did lose to Kathy Bates for Misery. Fair. But she would win 10 years later for her portrayal of Erin Brockovich. So far, we have the original author winning an Academy Award.
Right.
We have Julie Andrews, the originator of the role, winning an Academy Award.
Okay.
The original screen adaptation, also an Oscar winner. And now we have another Oscar winner playing the same character,
So
right?
everyone who touches Pygmalion.
Oh, it gets better.
Okay.
It gets better. Because in 2001, another adaptation is filmed, The Princess Diaries. And, okay, it's technically based on the Meg Cabot book series, but if you read the Meg Cabot book series, as I did, and then you watch the film, you will realize that they are, other than having like a couple themes and names, very different.
Just taking slovenly little girly pop, making them into upper echelon socialite over and over and over again.
Yes.
Okay.
The same story of taking someone for who they are and upgrading them to enter high society over and over and over again. This is the story of Pygmalion that comes out of George Bernard Shaw's edition, right? Because we have Julie Andrews playing the instructor of ladylike behavior in this rendition, and 17-year-old Anne Hathaway, her very first film, she plays Princess Mia Thermopolis. She does then go on to win her Academy Award for her portrayal of Fantine in Les Mis a decade later.
So this one wasn't attached to Pygmalion, but she touched Pygmalion.
She did touch
Therefore,
it. She did touch it.
She took an Academy Award. What does this mean for us?
It means that we won't win anything for this episode, but eventually we will win an award.
For having touched it.
For having touched Pygmalion.
It's like that bull on Wall Street.
Yes, and I think it speaks to the idea of creator versus created, because we have the original Greek Pygmalion.
Right.
And how he is someone who existed in Crete, did not appreciate the fact that everyone in Crete was sex obsessed, and withdrew into his artist's sort of like hermit cave, creates...
I can relate to all of this currently.
Tell your boyfriend.
I mean, okay, well, he's in the cave with me. We're not having orgies.
So was the statue. So was the statue. He creates the statue. He falls in love with his own artwork. It is his version of Trent. I'm so sorry. He falls in love with this piece of art that he has created. He prays to Aphrodite. Aphrodite brings the statue to life.
Period.
And Madeline Miller has a gorgeous short story about this.
The Madeline Miller.
The Madeline Miller of Song of Achilles and Circe.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It is from the point of view of the statue, which is so fascinating to me because in the original Greek rendition of it, it is a love story. The sculptor falls in love with the statue falls in love with him. They're married, they have babies, they live happily ever after.
Cute.
It is not like that in most other versions.
Yeah, because it's not like this in Pygmalion, the Bernard Shaw one that we looked over.
No. In fact, Henry Higgins, the creator character, meets Eliza Doolittle. She's a flower salesgirl.
Yeah.
He pulls her out of what he refers to as the gutter, teaches her how to speak. His friend, the Colonel, teaches her refinement because, frankly, Henry Higgins is not a refined character. He's just a well-spoken character.
Yeah, and really interesting juxtaposition he draws there. I think that's really, really fascinating. Go on, but like that thing jumps out at me, and I think that's really funky.
Yes. There is a 20-plus year age gap between them, and at the end of the story, they do not end up together.
Right.
And there's a whole chapter after the play ends, where Bernard Shaw justifies his decision to not let it be romantic. He states that it would have been a toxic relationship. Their age gap is inappropriate. The power dynamic is inappropriate. And frankly, it doesn't make sense for either of these characters to end up together. So naturally, in My Fair Lady, they do end up together.
Of course.
And in Pretty Woman, they end up together.
Which it just feels so unoriginal when you look at like the source material that Bernard Shaw sort of modernized.
In Madeline Miller's adaptation, not only do they not end happily, it's like a 20-something short story where the statue is not in love with the creator. So like the artist might fall in love with the art, but does the art fall in love with you back is such an interesting concept that I would love to explore.
Especially for anthropomorphizing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she feels attacked and smothered. And as soon as she develops her own personality, the artist doesn't love her as much anymore, which is something that really speaks to the way that men and women exist in society. When a man puts his own ideas and concepts on to this woman who he doesn't actually know, he loves her. But when she develops her own personality and he learns who she is as a person, he loves her a little less, which is a story that we will examine so many times.
Over and over and over again.
We have it coming up in a few episodes, again, with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We have it so many times.
The idea, well, just because it's such an old story. It's a story that's told over and over again, the sort of creator and the created.
Yeah, literally thousands of years old.
Literally, it's one of those traditions. And also, like, this theming of sort of femininity and masculinity, and femininity being the way that masculinity sort of accomplishes itself. we have talked about extensively in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I have talked about extensively in the past. I think of immediately Black Feminist Thought by Audre Lorde. I think of The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. I mean, all of these are sort of meditations on, I think of All About Love by Bell Hooks, even though Bell Hooks is kind of nuts, but we'll save that for another episode in the future. She's like, anyway.
She's nuts, but reading her is still a green flag.
Reading her is a green flag, but God, please God, read her with like some
Little salt.
a little salt, a little nuance.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, please. Yeah, this sort of this like, if I am a man historically, just the way that femininity has been presented, sort of the legacy of femininity that we have inherited from the empires before us, before the sort of modern Western world took over media production, is this idea that like, I'm trying to figure out who I am. And so I look at her and she's someone to be saved. And that's how I accomplish myself. Or
Yes.
she is someone to resist. And that's how I accomplish myself.
Which is something that we will also talk about in our Frankenstein episode
Absolutely.
that comes up. We have so many examples of this
We-
throughout literature and just in real life.
And also, I feel like when women are writing this, I'm actually, I'm really impressed by Bernard Shaw in his writing of this
Mhm.
because he does it very intelligently and he does it in a way that doesn't, Higgins,
He's an academic snob,
he is,
to be fair.
which, I mean,
And in his
same, but
personal life, we have some serious issues with who he was and how he behaved and who
absolutely.
he appreciated. And we will talk about every author in the way that they behaved at their time in history.
It's this idea that I like to refer to as like the sociological saint, where it's a little bit more nuanced than this idea that, you know, a broken clock is correct twice a day. It's a little more like, someone can say something that is correct, that does speak to a lived experience. They can identify a pattern, and they can still kind of be a terrible person in other contexts.
Yeah,
Um,
and we have that character in Pygmalion. We
Absolutely.
have Doolittle, Eliza's father, who I believe is also partially based on Bernard Shaw's father for being an alcoholic, a ne'er-do-well.
Yeah.
But Doolittle is also... How would you describe Doolittle?
I just think he's such a fun character. Oh my gosh. I think he's hilarious. He's this like weird kind of like cognitive dissonant, but conscious of it.
He's a philosopher?
He definitely philosophizes. He definitely speaks about like his place in society, which I think was very timely at the time that Bernard Shaw was writing this. This sort of, you know, I know what I am. I know my station. I don't want to rise above it. It's too complicated to rise above it.
And that self-awareness ultimately becomes his foil.
And of course, like, this is a farce. So like, it becomes his foil in a way that is unrealistic.
The
and
book is a
wouldn't actually
comedy.
happen. It's
The play is a comedy.
But gosh, it's so funny the way he does it, because he's he's basically this absentee father who's like never really there for Eliza when she's young, and then she gets taken in by Higgins and like taught how to be a lady, and he's like, my daughter disappeared, because we know that she lives alone. She doesn't live with her dad. She like lives in a little
No,
one
but when
room.
he finds out that she is in a situation to better herself, he's like, how can I get 5 pounds out of this?
And he goes like, you took my daughter, like you should give me 5 pounds. And like Higgins,
And Higgins does.
and Higgins like, okay,
Higgins
you know.
offers 10, and Doolittle says, no.
He's like, no, I don't want too much money. I don't want enough money to be a responsibility.
Yes, I don't want the kind of money where I feel obligated to save it. I want a little fun money that I can immediately go out and justify spending, having a good time with, and then going back to my way of life.
And it's really funny too, because he describes that as a good, responsible use of money. Higgins says like, are you going to flounder this money? He's like, no, I'm not going to flounder this money
I'm
and
gonna
sit on
spread
it
it
and
amongst
piddle
the
it.
community.
And I'm like, I'm going to spend it immediately. That's how you spend money well. And that's-
Yes,
and he's
spending
right.
money well is giving it back.
And just sort of like the way, and there's a point in the book where Higgins sort of says like, yeah, I was like telling my friend about this as a joke, like you were the butt of a joke. But the friend took it so serious. He was like, I love a good philosopher who transcends the boundary.
Yes, and
So
this is
funny.
like a slight spoiler, but like not for anything important. And also, the story is over 100 years old.
Yeah, so you're kind of get into it.
Yes, but that person who took Higgins seriously leaves Doolittle an enormous amount of money
Annually, it's an
to the
annual salary.
tune of £3,000 a year in 1912,
Adjusted
which
for inflation.
adjusted for inflation is very nearly $300,000 a year currently.
And he's just like, now I have people to take care of, because he's like,
And
I
he says
wanted
it
to be
ruins
poor.
his life.
He's like, it's really annoying. He's like, I used to be poor and I was living my best life, and now I have money and now I have responsibilities. Capital
And now
R.
my girlfriend wants to marry me.
He's like, I hate it here. I hate you. He literally says you ruined my life. Which I
Yes.
think is funny.
Yes.
and
I would love for $300,000 a year to ruin my life personally.
God,
but
oh
I am
my
not
gosh.
Doolittle.
Imagine my ruination.
Anyway, this is just a taste of what we get into every single episode.
Absolutely.
Come have fun with us. Come check it out.
It's funky, it's weird, it's fun. We're gonna get into it's gonna be a lot of sort of chain of storytelling, but it's also going to be a lot of really intense social commentary. And we're gonna riff. It's gonna be fun. We're
And
gonna
that's
do it
what
together.
literature is.
That is literally that's okay. So the final thing, I think, before we end this little teaser episode and leave the people wanting more, I hope, fingers crossed.
Just a little taste.
Just a little taste. Is this idea that like context is so important, nuance is so important, subtext is so important.
Yes.
And we cannot take media and divorce it from its context and pretend that nothing informed it. And so we are picking that apart. That is what we do.
We are not going to separate the art from the artist. We're not going to separate the art from the time it was created or produced.
Right.
And there is a school of thought in which you should be able to read something and analyze it separate from the world in which it existed, which it is believed that that was popularized at a time in American prairie life, pioneerism, where there were no secondary sources available. We no longer exist in that time, and it is to the detriment of the reader and the literature to remove it from the society in which it was created. Because almost every single time a work like this is used as a mirror to hold up to society, to re-examine the way that people behave.
For sure.
And to not acknowledge that is inappropriate.
And like,
so we won't.
We'll go ahead and like sum it up like this. You can say whatever you want about like the curtains. Maybe the curtains were just blue. Sure, that's never the case. But the wallpaper was yellow for a reason, right?
Yes.
And, like when we get to it, we're gonna get to it.
And we will get into it. So join us for our next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening so far. And tell your librarian that we love them.
Because we do.